You are a parent of a student who struggles with executive function and your child is resistant to your help and you're trying to help them and give them advice and help them have a better life and they don't want it, this video is for you. My name is Seth with SethPerler.com. I'm an executive function coach based out of Boulder, Colorado, and I help struggling students navigate this thing called school. And I have this email here from one of my subscribers here. It says, I subscribed to your blog last week. I found you in my efforts to find resources to help my 17-year-old daughter. Based on what I have read on your site, she is asynchronously developed, has executive function challenges. She's been difficult and defiant since she was 15. She won't take instructions from me and my husband. Can you provide some advice on how to get a teenager like her to recognize/accept that she has challenges and be more receptive to the help her parents are trying to give her? So that is a great, great email that a lot of families are struggling with the same sort of thing. So I'm going to unpack this for you right here. I'm going to go over the email and unpack some key terms in this parent's thinking, and then I'm going to give you some solutions and insights so that you guys can better help your kids if you are in this sort of a situation. First of all, she mentions that her daughter is asynchronously developed. If you haven't heard that term, what that means is that we like to imagine that most kids are developing within developmental norms. So, for example, a fifth grader would be at fifth grade level in math and science and reading and writing, but also in terms of maturity and social personality, social characteristics, and things like that. So anyhow, we like to imagine that they're at baselines at different levels, but asynchrony means that kids develop very differently. So you might have a student, for example, who is in fifth grade, who is doing high school level math, but whose handwriting is like a second grader because of fine motor issues or what have you. Or you might have a student who is in fifth grade who can have super high level, deep adult conversations with you about certain topics, particularly topics within their interest areas. For example, if they're interested in animals and they really or whatever their interest is in music or whatever, they can have super high level stuff, but when it comes to perhaps them not getting their way, they're so immature. So they're a fifth grader, but their maturity level in certain areas is really low. So anyhow, asynchrony means that they're not synchronously developing, they're very asynchronously developing. And some kids develop very asynchronously. They have really high highs, really low lows, things in the middle. They're all over the place. So it makes it very difficult to work with them. And especially if, we are in an outdated school system paradigm where we think that we can just run kids through certain grades, certain curriculum at certain levels, and if they were to do that thing, then they should be at the next level, and just stuff that doesn't work when it comes down to reality for most kids. The next thing this person says is that she has executive function challenges. That means that she's struggling to manage time, to stay organized, to get things turned in. She has a lot of missings and completes, late work, doesn't know how to study or doesn't study. So anyhow, anything that's related to this kid executing on the tasks that need to be done for their life, they're struggling to execute to get the things done that need to get done. And then it says she's been difficult and defiant since she was 15. I'm going to talk about the defiance just in a very... Actually, I'll save that. I'll mention that in a moment. And she won't take instructions from me and my husband. Most of the kids that I work with don't want to hear advice or instructions from their parents, first of all. And the other thing is when we think about us as adults, do you take instructions from your husband? Does your husband take instructions from you? Do we as adults like to take instructions from other people? Do we like to be told what to do or directed or told you need to be doing something this way? And with the only time we do, for example, in this email, you said, can you provide some advice? You're asking me for help. If I go to a doctor and I ask the doctor for help, then I'm more likely to take their advice. If I go to my parent and I ask them for help, if I go to somebody, a guitar teacher, and ask them for help in learning how to play better or something, like I'm asking for it. So I have ownership and I have buy-in in that process. But if somebody just tells me, hey, you should do things this way and that way, then I don't want that. Most of us, I think, don't, or we only do if it's somebody that we really have that sort of a relationship with. So I'll explain why that matters in just a moment. And then I love how you say to get her advice on how to get a teenager like her to recognize and accept that she has challenges. That's a really good question. That's a really good question. And that's where it's at. So I'll address that and be more receptive to help her parents. And I like how you frame that, to be more receptive to you and your husband helping her. She doesn't have to be fully receptive, but can we get the ball rolling in a different direction where she's willing to accept something and go from there? I like your frame there. It shows me that you understand that this is a process. It's not just an overnight, quick fix thing. And I'm really glad to hear that you framed it that way. Anyhow, so here we go. First of all, the first thing we want to understand if we're trying to help a kid like this is that there's the A and the B. The A is that we are a parent or a teacher, or it could even be the student, but usually for the adults in this kid's life, there is a sense of worry and anxiety and concern that if this kid doesn't figure these things out, the kid's not going to be okay. They're not going to be able to have the choices in life and the possibilities and the opportunities in their future life to be able to create a fantastic future, that they're really going to struggle with things like career, things like relationships, things like paying bills and financial stability. And this is that there are very, very, very real consequences if the kid doesn't figure out how to execute, how to regulate emotion, how to overcome their own resistance to doing things that need to get done. So, and we want to get to point B. And point B is the point where the teacher or the coach or the therapist or the parent can breathe a sigh of relief and go, this kid's going to be okay. We've had our challenges. The kid still has some challenges, but we feel like this kid's going to be okay. They've got enough tools. They have good enough executive function. Not perfect, but it's good enough. My kid's going to be okay. So that's where we're trying to get to, from point A to point B. And the kid ideally is wanting to get there too, that they're at a point where they want to be independent from you, from the parents. They want to have a good life. They want to have a good future. They want to have opportunities. They may not be able to articulate that, but they do want to have a good life. And point B is where the kid's like, you know what? My life's not perfect, but I got this. I can accomplish my goals in life. I can do what I want to do. I can go for things. I can challenge myself. I can go through things that are difficult and hard, and I can overcome them and work through them and grow as a person. That's where their A to B is. At one point they're kind of chaotic and they don't really have much direction. And at point B, they're like, you know what? I may not know exactly what I want to do, but I have a toolbox filled with tools that I know how to use to get me there, to accomplish my goals in life. So that's the A to B I wanted to talk about. Now, parents, when I am taking a student that I am working with from A to B, and I'm working with them as a coach, there are 3 elements to creating that transformative experience for your child. So what I do as a coach, you do as a parent, we do as teachers, we do. So this is how I break it down. To me, there are 3 elements that you need. 1, your child needs systems. Systems for planning, systems for organization, systems for checking their portal, for advocating for them. They need systems. 2, they need mindsets. Mindsets that say, you know what? My parents may frustrate me sometimes, but I can relate to them and I can work with them and I can learn from them and we have a good relationship. I know they're there for me. I bug them, they bug me, but it's good. So we have mindsets. School's hard, but I can figure it out. I can get help. I can learn. I can grow. But what we tend to have is these resistance mindsets that say, "I can't. This is stupid. Why do I have to do this? I don't want to. This isn't fun. I give up. I hate this. My teachers hate me. The kids hate me. This is too hard." So those sorts of resistance mindsets. And that's what creates procrastination and putting things off and lack of motivation and saying, and that impedes executive function. That impedes execution. That prevents us from being able to execute on things that where we are planting seeds for our own future well-being. If we are resistant and we can't do those things, then that interferes with that. So we have to have systems, we have to have mindsets that are positive, and we have to have habits and routines. I lump habits and routines together, but we have to have study habits, sleep habits, exercise habits, habits that help us to live optimally and to get things done. So when I'm taking someone from A to B, those are the 3 elements that I'm trying to help with. Now, what I want to mention next is with the mindset one in particular. Your child's mindset is, I don't want help from my parents. My parents overwhelm me. They bug me. They won't leave me alone. They're always on my back. And this isn't what you said in the email, but this is what I hear over and over. So I know that this is probably the type of things that parents who are going through this are hearing, because I hear it so much. But so those sorts of things. So there's this resistance mindset. And if you're in this type of a situation with your child, you have to deal with the mindset of resistance to allowing you into their life. Now, how do you deal with that mindset? It's not easy. It's not quick. It requires a lot on the part of the parents, a lot of patience on the part of the parents, because this is not an overnight matter. There's healing that has to be done in most cases, and I'll explain that in a moment. How do we build the relationship? How do we get your kid to trust you, to allow you to help them? You have this child you love, you care about, they mean the world to you, and they won't accept your help. How do we help their nervous system calm down? How do we help their mindset, their resistance to change, so that your relationship changes and you can help them? Well, the way that we do that is through the relationship and through co-regulation and through the nervous system. Your child's resistance to you helping them, what's really happening, forget about the story. What's happening is that your child, when you're trying to help them, isn't feeling in their body, oh, I can get help from this person, this is safe. They're feeling in their body, this is unsafe. Get away from me. Fight, flight, or freeze. And this is hard, I think, for parents to hear, but your child's nervous system is triggered by your words in your nervous system. This is not to blame you. This is to help. I'm telling you this to help you understand what's going on in the body so that you can help your child. So this isn't about shaming you, the parents, or making you feel guilty or feeling like you're not a good enough parent. The fact that parents ask these questions is awesome, and it shows a parent who wants to learn and grow and be a better parent. So, this is not to feel guilty or anything, but your child's nervous system has triggers. So you say something, hey, what's up with this? Why'd you get a 0? Why don't you let me help you? Can I please help you? I can. But their nervous system is shut down. They feel constriction. They feel fight, flight, or freeze. They feel, get away from me. I don't want your help. I want to be independent. I want to be an adult. I want you to trust me. So they're feeling these feelings, and even though you're on their side, they're not able to see it. This is tough. So what you as the parent want to do is deal with the relationship. And it is a long, slow journey. And you have to change now. Your child was 15, now they're 17. You have to change the nature of your relationship where your child's nervous system isn't triggered by the things that you say. It takes a long time. You guys are going to have to heal. You're going to have to build trust again in certain areas. You're going to have to learn to communicate differently. You're going to have to learn to perceive your child differently. You're going to have to learn to focus on their strengths. If you look at my UGYG course or some of my videos on the 3-to-1 rule, your child feels like all you do is notice the negative. They feel like they can't win. They feel like they can't do anything right. They feel like you never see what they do well. They feel like you don't see their efforts. It feels daunting. It feels overwhelming. Okay? So you have to understand what's going on in your child's body. They're feeling in their body, when you come to try to help them, they're feeling, I do not even want you near me right now, is what they're feeling. And it's not you. It's not that they don't love you or anything like that. It's that their nervous system feels unsafe. They've been trying to do the right thing, the right ways. They've been working really hard for years, but they don't fit in the box, and it's getting really old for them. They've put so much energy by this time they're 17 to try to fit in the boxes and to try to be what everybody expects them to be, and they just can't live up to it. They're just not perfect. So they're grappling with identity. They're grappling with a changing body. They're grappling with social pressures, and they're grappling with pressures from school, from you, and it feels very overwhelming. So your objective, parents, what you want to do, and again, this is not going to change it overnight, and I think that's one of the hardest things, that this is going to take time, is you want to change the nature of your communication and your relationship with your child so that your child feels emotionally safe to be vulnerable with you, to accept your help, to want your help. And let me stop right here and tell you, parents, this can change. I see it all the time. I see it with the families I work with all the time. It's not easy. It's not overnight. It does take time. But your objective is to help them feel safe, change the nature of relationship. Your objective is to get it from where it's going now and it's on a down slope to get it on an upslope. Even if it's only going on a 2% grade upslope, that's what you want. Okay, even if it feels like it's 2 steps forward and 1.9 steps back, that's what you want. You want to change the direction of where this relationship is going. Now, to the hard part, the even harder part. How do you do that? One thing you might want to do is get an outsider, get a coach, get a tutor, get a mentor, get an older kid that your kid just likes to hang out with, and get a teacher, get an aunt or an uncle or somebody that is not you, the parent, to help your child recognize that there's challenges and that it's okay and that we all have them. But get somebody that's not you, first of all. Second of all, if you want to change the nature of your relationship with your child and help your child's nervous system feel safe and understand that you're on their team, you, the parent, have to change you. And I think that's very hard for people too, because the older we get, the more set in our ways we are. And the more we really have very firm beliefs, and sometimes the less flexible we are. And we're like, I don't need help. I don't need a therapist. I don't need a counselor. I don't need to read books on self-development. I don't need to but that is what we need to do. So my big challenge to you parents is change you. Learn more about your nervous system. Learn more about your triggers. Learn more about your boundaries. Learn more about the messages that you got as a child that you don't agree with or that you do agree with, and what you really believe and what you really think. So often I think as adults we just take for granted that things are the way they are. And we forget that it's taken time for us to develop the beliefs we have. They didn't just appear. We were taught them, or we were influenced by certain things that caused us to believe. And now we have to challenge our beliefs. Is what we believe true? Like, think about, for example, the person who wrote this letter, you have this sweet little child, you imagine what it's going to be like to be a parent. And now you're like, this is not what I signed up for and being a parent. I thought it was going to be more white picket fence, happy, joy. But that's not real life for a lot of families. And the most important thing is the relationship. So next thing I said is you got to do your own deep inner work. Get your own therapist. It is the best investment you can ever make. There's nothing wrong with you. That's a sign of strength if you go to a therapist or a counselor and you say, I need some help. Go to a family therapist with your kid. Yes, it costs money. So what? Lots of things cost money. Invest in this. This is the most important thing in your life, is your relationships with yourself and the people that are closest to you. So investing money in a specialist who helps people have better relationships and better quality of life is the best investment you can ever make. So for those of you who think that therapy is for weak people or stuff like that, that is not reality at all. So go ahead and get help. Why not? That's weakness, not getting help. Read books. Here's one for you. We had a Executive Function Online Summit recently. I'll link that. But this is called The Self-Driven Child. These were two of the authors on the summit. But I got this book for all the families that I'm working with locally because it's fantastic. So get some great books on this stuff. In TFOS, the Executive Function Online Summit that we just did, you can still purchase that summit, the replays, and all these bonuses with the summit. But there was a lot of the specialists in executive function on that summit talked about the relationship and the nervous system. There's so much great information on there. Like, listen to all those and listen to podcasts about parenting. Get into Facebook groups or local support groups or whatever. So, and Stuart Shanker, who is one of our speakers on TFOS, the Executive Function Online Summit, Stuart Shanker, he has a new program coming out in November that you might look into. I'll link to that below as well. So anyhow, that was very in-depth, and I hope that that helps you. Do not give up. This stuff works. Your kid wants to do well. They just don't have the tools to be able to know how to relate to you, to be able to navigate their executive function. They feel a lot of pressure. Their body is feeling a lot of overwhelm. Their nervous system is just trying to stay safe, and they feel attacked. It's not you. It's not your fault. It just is. But learning all about that and building the relationship is where it's at. It's going to take you a while. I would guess it's going to probably take you a good 6 weeks to 2 months to sort of really get a good hook and start to turn it around where it's not going down anymore, but it's going up, your relationship and your communication and everything. But that's where it starts. And you can not believe me. You can go look for other quick fixes or things like that. But I'm telling you, this is the roadmap. These are the things you need. I have an online program, UGYG, that tells you all about a lot of these things in terms of how I coach kids. But you can check that out. There's so many good resources out there. Anyhow, my name is Seth Perler with SethPerler.com. I'm an executive function coach based out of Boulder, Colorado, and I help struggling students navigate this thing called education. Go ahead, if you like what I'm doing, give me a thumbs up and subscribe on YouTube and subscribe to my blog. Share my work if you like what I'm doing. I really want to help people all over the world to understand executive function more so that we can help these kids have a great life. Take care. I will see you soon.